What's up, Degenerate Nation? Welcome to the Big Bets on Campus podcast presented by BetMGM. This is the NCAA tournament first weekend betting recap and early Sweet 16 preview. I'm Stuckey, and joining me, as always, on Monday morning, Mike Calabrese and BJ Cunningham. Fun weekend. We had another 15 seed advance to the Sweet 16. Maybe that's just going to happen every year, and a 16 win. Had some upsets. There were some chalky stretches, but I think it was overall a fun weekend. Unfortunately, my Cats are done. Kentucky's out. Your Iowa Hawkeyes limped out again, BJ. Yeah. But we have a couple futures for the podcast alive. Good weekend for the Big East. How you feeling, BJ? Expected, surprised, depressed?
I think I feel all of those emotions right now, Stuckey. Obviously, betting didn't go too well for me. Teams like Miami advancing the Sweet 16 hurts. Kansas State advancing hurts.
Great finish by Drake, by the way.
Great finish. I looked it up this morning. 98% chance to cover when they were up 55-49 with 3 minutes left to go. Yeah, just an unreal collapse by them.
Can't miss every shot.
But yeah, it's obviously every single year. We seem surprised after all the craziness ensues, and we sit here on Monday morning and, I did not see Princeton coming at all, coming out and beating Arizona. That was one of, if you had to ask me which 15 seed I thought was going to win, it was probably going to be Vermont against Marquette. But yeah, just a crazy, crazy weekend. Hawks obviously limped out with a whimper, having to play a road game in Birmingham. But it was, it was another one insane weekend. And I feel all of the emotions right now.
Yeah, I'm personally devastated for my wife. It sucks for Lexington and Kentucky fans. And I'm lucky enough that we're financially doesn't need to work, and we don't need the money for the bar. But the people that work for her, a lot of times people in the bar industry, there are some wonderful bartenders and bar managers that do that as their career. But there are a lot of people that come through the bar industry as a transition period in their life, or just are struggling financially, especially right now with inflation and some of the tough things people are going through. And, a lot of my now really good friends it's crazy the amount of money that some of these bars would make and the bartenders would make if Kentucky wins. This is the entire state cares about Kentucky basketball. That's it. And I moved here in 2018. They have not made a second weekend. This is the first tournament win in years. And then they couldn't finish the job against Kansas State. So it sucks personally seeing. And then the financial implications. You can even go look at the small schools, like Fairleigh Dickinson winning a game. Even like San Diego State. Then that money for every win you get goes to schools for like 6 years. And some of these small schools, that could be huge for their budget. And so watching personally the financial implications, and then the betting, TCU, how about that shot? One shining moment. That should be the one shining moment on a loop. That TCU shot, unbelievable. Ball had another number. He just let it roll up and it's a prayer with point. I guess it was kind of justice in a way. They found 0.7 seconds left, and I was like, not only is I don't think TCU could have won it all without Lampkin, but not only is my TCU future done, they're not going to cover now. Gonzaga drains both free throws, and I expect TCU just to inbound it and then go home. No, Ball says, I'm going to hit a shot here. Millions and millions of dollars, especially the last game of the weekend with all that money changing hands. And it was the weekend of the under. A little overreaction on Sunday, but tight rims. You could see that just with your eyes. And then a new ball. Some of the teams didn't use that ball, and you saw that in some of the shooting numbers. Mike, no A10 left. Your beloved A10 is out. My Wildcats are out. BJ's Hawks are out. How'd your weekend go?
Yeah, I got slapped around in terms of my bets. The ball rim combo and it leading to 2/3 of the games cashing unders. It's just classic NCAA. It's like if you showed up at the Masters one year, it's like everybody has to play with this ball that slices really bad. Good luck with it. It's like, what the? Like, I don't understand how they can screw up something as simple as that, or force teams to play with a ball that they played with once or twice in the entire season. But that's kind of right on par for the NCAA screwing up something that doesn't even need to be adjusted. I agree with BJ's take on Princeton coming out of nowhere. Like, I like them this year. I bet them plenty this year. I thought to myself, all right, if they're going to upset Arizona or make any kind of run, Awoma's got to be huge. He scores 24 points in 2 games. So it just goes to show it's like, sometimes other people step up, sometimes teams go cold. I wasn't even involved from a single game bet on the Purdue Fairleigh Dickinson game, but it's like, what are we doing here as a sport if Fairleigh Dickinson, who is one of the worst interior defenses ever make the tournament, against a National Player of the Year 7-4 to win? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. So it's like, it's time to pump the brakes a little bit, reset to the second weekend, be like, okay, first weekend was crazy. There was some things that you can never predict, but we actually are going to end up with some really fun matchups, some contrasts of styles, some really good offenses against really good defense. I'm excited about it. And then I was just mentioning to BJ from my own portfolio, I snuck in a 300-1 FAU bet in early February. So I'm going to look to hedge out of that, see if I can get a little money. I got Creighton. That was my biggest one. To me, from my portfolio, they played the best in the first 2 games, and it was really nice to see them just attack from a game script perspective, where we talked about this on the live show Stuck. It was like, just go after Purdue, eat them up inside, and they end up scoring 85 points. So that was nice. I also have San Diego State, Arkansas, and Texas on the futures as well. So just going to lick my wounds with some losses over the weekend. But overall, I agree with your assessment where it seemed like chalk was kind of raining, but overall, we basically got some of the madness we were looking for. And the last thing, like from the Sunday live show all the way to the tip off of Drake versus Miami, the thought was, all right, if Amir plays, he's going to be limited. Trying to speculate on injuries is so risky in general, but in college sports, it's even riskier. He ends up with 31 rebounds in 2 games, and they, cruise to the second weekend. So just goes to show, don't over-lever yourself. Don't get too in love with any particular play, particularly if it's based in player availability.
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't say cruise though. I mean,
well, the second game, I should say. The second game.
Yeah. I mean, also, Drake, their best player, goes 1 of 13, and 1 of 11 from 3. Drake's one of the teams that brand new ball for them. Remember the legendary Nate Walters from from South Dakota State?
I sure do.
Mm-hmm.
So he follows me on Twitter. Shout out Nate. And then I tweeted out, you always have the story of how tight certain rims are at different locations, but the new ball for some teams throws another wrench into it. This year, 3-point percentage at 31% so far after being up across the board during the season. Small sample size, but definitely worth monitoring. Nate responds, just crazy. The biggest games of the season, they use a brand new basketball. Just to echo your sentiments there. And like some teams, like it's just mind boggling, but whatever. It is what it is. And we have let's go before we get to by the way, we're going to have 3-Man Weave who's going to do a Sweet 16 preview, which will be out, I believe, Wednesday. And then us 3 will do another preview Thursday morning. I'll record that up in New York, and I'll be up there for and Mike, I think you're going to be there as well for our Action Network Madness Watch Party on Saturday in Hoboken at Manhattan. If you haven't RSVP'd and you're going to be in the Jersey or New York area and can make it, then go to actionnetwork.com, or I'll tweet out the link again today. And I don't have to worry about sweating Kentucky on Saturday. I was like, man, Kentucky's going to be playing. I'm going to have to meet. Nope, Kentucky's not playing. Kansas State is playing. So, yeah, we'll see you there, but we'll have our preview out on Thursday. So we'll just touch very briefly on initial looks or thoughts on those games and then get out of here. Very quick episode. But let's before we get there, favorite moment of the weekend for me, it was I was like Thursday, it was a wash. Friday was a bad day. Saturday was a good day. Sunday was a wash. I basically washed overall. But favorite moment had to be TCU. That shot. That was an incredible cover, and you gotta love it. That was my favorite moment. Least favorite moment, besides Kentucky losing, was the Drake meltdown. That was just so sad to watch. Just make one shot. They couldn't even cover. Like, I was like, they're gonna win. So that was unfortunate. But BJ, got a favorite and least favorite moment of the weekend?
I'd say my favorite moment was the Furman shot just to kick off the tournament. That was just an unbelievable, insane scenario that happened. And I was at the games in Des Moines, in Media Row, and they put the game up on the big screen. And so you had just like 15,000 people just going insane right when Kie Clark just threw the ball right to midcourt for no reason. And then Furman hit the shot. So that was
with a
probably
timeout. He had a timeout.
I know
too.
they had a
It's
timeout and they called
crazy.
timeout after that. It was crazy. Yeah, just an insane scenario just to kick off the madness. So that was probably my favorite moment. And I agree with you. Drake was very, very sad. Just going out with the whimper and not making a shot down the stretch, and just, yeah, very, very sad.
Yeah, by the way, Virginia should get a lifetime pass to the tournament. They've won a national title in overtime, lost to a 16, lost to a 13 at the buzzer, and lost to a 14. All in 5 years. And then the other tournament was canceled.
I also saw
what they've done.
that I also saw Purdue has lost to all but 2 seeds in the tournament. I think it's the 8 and the 14 are the only seeds they haven't lost to in the tournament now, which is kind of funny in itself. So they deserve a lifetime pass as well to come into the tournament and get upset.
I think Purdue's got a top 3 seed 8 times. They have 11 total wins, which is pretty sad. Yeah, Purdue we should mention that. Shout out Fairleigh Dickinson.
Yeah.
And another huge win. One of those, look, gym comparisons where it's like, look at the Purdue gym and then look at Mackey compared to the FDU gym. And those are always fun. It was last year with St. Peter's in Kentucky, but Purdue, I mean, everyone called it, and then it came true that Purdue was a fraud and they weren't going to. They looked petrified. No one wanted to make a shot. No one wanted to take a shot. That was crazy to watch, and they just felt the weight of the moment on their shoulders. It looked like the entire game, and I mean, credit to FDU. It wasn't just that Purdue melted, but they looked scared. And how does Zach Edey? His final points came with 9 minutes to go in that game against the smallest team in the country. Wasn't a great weekend for the Matt Painter narrative. But Mike, favorite or least favorite moment of the weekend?
I mean, Furman was also there for me. I talked up the Dins a lot, and to steal a win out of the jaws of defeat was pretty great. Totally unpredictable. That was probably my most shocked moment of the whole first round. For the weekends, I was kind of poking holes in Kansas' resume in the last month of the season, and that was the only region that I nailed, all 4 of the Sweet 16 teams, getting that Arkansas upset. So it was nice to see Arkansas actually put it together, not melt down at the end. In terms of frustrations for me, I had a Marquette ticket, and to watch Kolek play so poorly, when if he just plays a regular game, they probably win that. But it's like, it was difficult to watch, particularly with his teammates really trying their best to keep them alive with the 3 ball late in the second half, and he just absolutely disappeared. So that was probably my most frustrating moment as somebody with Marquette futures, but also just in general, I was a believer in that team, and I thought they could get back to MSG where they had all that momentum of winning the Big East tournament. So that was kind of a letdown.
Yeah, look, when you're investing in futures, a lot of times you got to escape with a game. You have to also be healthy, and it's just single game variance. You got to make threes, and your opponent can't make a ton of threes. In the case of Marquette, I think Kolek wasn't. I mean, he wasn't healthy. He hurt his hand in that initial game, and I just think he wasn't the same since over the past 2 games. But credit to Izzo and Michigan State. They had a pretty good scout, and I think they played very well defensively, even though there were some exploitable holes there. But yeah, that was unfortunate to see Marquette go down. But we have futures portfolio. We'll do some giveaways at the end of the show, by the way. We had TCU, Indiana, and Marquette, who are gone, and we have UConn and Creighton left. So this is officially a Big East podcast from now on. Let's see when those 2 teams play. So let's just quick thoughts on the Sweet 16. We have, so let's see, on Thursday, I think is the game with it never plays out this way, but Thursday's the game with the more potential for thrillers, just judging by the spreads. And Friday is, okay, please give us a couple close games. Thursday, Arkansas versus Connecticut. Connecticut 3.5-point favorite. Kansas State versus Michigan State. Kansas State opened a favorite that flipped to Michigan State favorite -1. Florida Atlantic, Tennessee. Tennessee's a 5.5-point favorite there after they pretty much just men versus boys, for lack of a better term, Duke. Just completely out-physicaled them. Gonzaga, UCLA, the rematch that a lot of people wanted. Not me, because I wanted TCU, but UCLA 1.5-point favorite there. Injuries to watch for UCLA. We'll see if David Singleton, who was in the handshake line, but looked like he had a bad sprain, so we'll see if he can go. UCLA already lost a key player, and Bone is banged up as well. That's the Thursday slate. Pretty good slate on paper. Friday, some bigger spreads. Alabama's a 7-point favorite against San Diego State. Houston's a 7-point favorite against Miami. Creighton, 10-point favorite against Princeton. And then the X versus the Tex. Texas, 4-point favorite over Xavier. Let's start Thursday. Arc, UConn, Kansas State, Sparty, Florida Atlantic, Tennessee, Gonzaga, UCLA. Just one thought. If you have an early lean or just a thought on the matchups, BJ, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I like Connecticut against Arkansas. I think it's a really good matchup for them. Arkansas, they obviously got away with some poor shooting from Illinois. Illinois had 8 open threes in that game, which is, not a great thing. Kind of a dangerous game to play. But again, Illinois was a very bad 3-point shooting all season long. And then against Kansas, they just got to the rim whenever they wanted to. That's not really going to happen against UConn. So Arkansas, who doesn't take a lot of 3-point shots and also is a very average defensive rebounding team, is not really that great of a matchup against UConn. So I've already bet the Huskies -3. It's up to 3.5 now. But yeah, I'd grab UConn when you can, because I think that line might close around 4.5.
I agree. I think UConn is just a better version of Arkansas, especially since Nick Smith Jr.
Yeah, what's going on
now?
There? Yeah,
there's but I think UConn can defend at the rim, and that's what you need to do against Arkansas, and you can completely suffocate them. So I think that the run is over for Mr. Must Bust, and his shirt stays on Thursday night. Mike, any early thoughts on Thursday?
Just to kind of piggyback on that, I've been mentioning leading in that they needed Hawkins to play better. He ends up canning 4 out of 5 threes against St. Mary's. If he can add that on the perimeter, I think they're perfectly balanced to win this whole tournament. So I agree with that play. I like Gonzaga. I'm going to take him on the money line against UCLA. I think UCLA's injury issues are going to rear their head. I know that, Singleton was walking, or Singletary after the game. So even if he plays, given the loss of Jalen Clark and the fact that, there's one team in the Pac-12 that plays the same brand of basketball as Arizona. They went 1-2 against the Wildcats. Gonzaga is as hot as they can be entering, this game. I think they proved it against a really difficult opponent in TCU. Timmy's playing his best basketball really of the entire season. So I'm going to go with the Bulldogs here.
Yeah, Drew Timme was amazing against TCU. By the way, Gonzaga fans, just any fans on Twitter, we sweat futures, we sweat bets, we have fun. I don't hate your team. I don't hate Drew Timme. That's what makes Twitter fun, by the way, in those games. But shout out to Gonzaga fans and Timme especially for a hell of a game. Mike, you've had a couple of funerals planned.
I have. Apparently, Tennessee will never die.
They've heard you apparently. So are you Florida Atlantic? Should they wear their black warm-ups for the funeral, or are you finally buying into the balls? I think Florida Atlantic's a good matchup. I think 6 too many. I'm gonna be on the odds there, by the way.
I'm gonna take the points. I'm gonna take the money line. I'm just gonna keep swinging haymakers at this Tennessee team until they go down. I agree.
Or they win the national title.
Or they win the national title.
Hey, you can't be wrong 7 times. You can only be wrong 6 times. So, at least there's that. But I think there's too many points. I think there's a Florida Atlantic team that can match their physicality. I think Duke. And by the way, bad week for the ACC. Bad week for the Big Ten. It's just Michigan State left, and the ACC is just Miami left. I don't think many people are that surprised of those 2 results. Good weekend for the SEC overall. Good weekend for the Big East overall. I think that those were the 2 winners as far as conferences are concerned. But I don't think that Tennessee can do the same thing to Florida Atlantic that they did to Duke, because I think Florida Atlantic more experienced, bigger, deeper, more athletic, which is weird to say against Duke, but Duke's very young and raw, and I think that they just got bodied in that game. I don't think Tennessee can do that. against Florida Atlantic. And generally, this is a Tennessee team that you don't want to back as a favorite. It just their offense is still very limited. So I think that's just too many points. I think Florida Atlantic is a live dog there. And then it's funny, you see the recency bias, especially in the tournament, even though it's it's the end of the year, you would think markets are so efficient. You got people in the sports book on Sunday that were wearing under gear, under jerseys, and you saw all the unders come down. But so yeah, we saw that with totals. But look at just the sentiment on Tennessee, right? Tennessee barely squeaks by Louisiana. Everyone says Duke. The whole world is on Duke. Tennessee stinks. Tennessee's awful. Tennessee's a fraud, right? Duke looks great. So Tennessee dominates them. And now you're hearing Tennessee's legit. Tennessee can win it all. One game, one result from fraud to win it all. So I think that's a little baked into this line and a little overreaction to what Tennessee did against what I thought was a fairly fraudulent Duke team. So I like the Owls there. Moving on to Friday. Let's see. And I think Tennessee's still 5.5. Let me see. I should talk about the most up-to-date lines. Let's see. I'm gonna bet that right now if it is, and then put that in the app. If it is 5.5. It is. All right. We can bet that. All right, here we go. Florida Atlantic it is. Owls. I lean Michigan State too, but they are moving quick. They're out there with a 2-point favorite against Kansas State, who I'm still not a believer in. They made a bunch of prayer threes, and unfortunately, Reeves started out 0 of 13 for Kentucky. And one final note that I should mention too is don't blame kids. They have bad days, man. You and I have bad days at work, and they're going to wear that and think about it the rest of their life. And we're going to move on and bet the Sweet 16. So it was an unfortunate day for Reeves, and it sucks for him, most importantly. Friday, quick thoughts, and then we'll get out of here. San Diego State, Alabama, 7-point favorite. Houston, 7-point favorite over Miami. Creighton, double-digit favorite over Princeton. And Texas, a 4-point favorite over Xavier. And again, that should be pretty fun. Mike, any thoughts there before we get out of here?
Yeah, I like San Diego State plus the points. I think they needed to break out of the Mountain West funk. They did it. Their defense was dominant. It got better from the round of 64 to the round of 32. Facing Furman and absolutely putting them in a chokehold, I think bodes well for playing an Alabama team that is top 20 in so many offensive metrics. I think they can muck this game up, so I'm happy to take the points. They obviously, to go out here and throw out the game plan that they need Bradley to score 20 points and be efficient to win outright. But in general, I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. If they can keep it in the 60s, I think 6.5 is more than enough to get it done against the spread.
Yeah, you can get a 7 out there now, and I think that they can. What do you need to do against Alabama? It's rim and three. They want to get to the rim. They want to shoot threes. And San Diego State does a really good job of defending both. And I think that they can slow this game up to their tempo. I tend to think, especially as the tournament goes on, when you have a team that wants to slow it up versus a team that prefers to run it, that the team that wants to slow it up has a better chance of controlling the tempo at this stage. So, yeah, I think that they have the defense. I don't know if they have the – Bradley will have to get red hot down the stretch to pull off the upset. So I don't know if they'll have enough offense when it's all said and done to move on. But I do think that they can certainly hang with Alabama. BJ, any quick thoughts on Friday?
Well, I have some breaking news here that people are going to hear later. But per John Fanta, barring a late change of heart, Ed Cooley will be the next head coach at Georgetown.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy. That doesn't seem like a – I don't know.
Yeah, I saw this morning he put his house on the market.
Yeah.
Up at Rhode Island. So, yeah.
But anyway, I agree with Mike. I like San Diego State +7. If you look at a lot of what Alabama has done, obviously, San Diego State's not a big 3-point shooting team. Obviously, if you look at Alabama's metrics, they're one of the best 3-point defenses in the country, playing obviously in the SEC. But Alabama is a really bad post defense. They're not very good at defending the mid-range, which are two areas you really need to be good at to defend San Diego State. So I agree with Mike. I think it's a pretty good matchup for them. Defensively, obviously, San Diego State's allowing around 28% from beyond the arc. Alabama is one of the highest frequency 3-point shooting teams in the country. So I like San Diego State as well. I'll be taking them +7.
Yeah, I agree there. Houston laying 7. against Miami. I think it's going to be
Seems like a
something.
lot.
I mean, yeah, it seems like a lot because of Miami's guards. And then
How
we
about
don't
that
know
second half
how
from Houston though? That was a big like.
unbelievable.
That was like, oh wait, we're one of the best teams in the country. Let's show everybody really quick.
Yeah, with foul trouble too, and Sasser limited, and he and Shed on the bench, and Mark went nuts, and yeah, they kind of flexed their muscle and their depth, and they're obviously you have one of the best adjusters in all of college basketball as well, and they came out. Something to keep in mind with Houston, like if Miami's up at the half here, I'll be looking for Houston second half again. Creighton, the 10-point favorite against Princeton feels about right. And then Xavier, Texas. I'm gonna have to look to see where is that game? That game is in Kansas City. Feels like another Xavier over. I feel like that game was Texas getting a lot of these muck it up Big 12 games. But I think at heart they want to run and get out, and their posts. I mean, Dylan Dessou is playing amazing right now. I feel like that game could potentially be a sneaky over, but we'll have to break that down some more. But good stuff there. Just wanted to get your guys' initial reactions over what happened this weekend and on the Sweet 16 opening lines. But we will have much more later this week. 3-man weave on Wednesday, and then we'll be back Thursday morning. Episode will probably be out early afternoon, going deeper into all of the Sweet 16 games. Big Bets on Campus Live. We'll have all weekend previewing the slates as well. And then I hope to see some of you on Saturday night in Hoboken. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks to BJ and Mike as always. Thanks to our audio video teams on the back end. We have a couple reviews lined up that I will do giveaways for on our Thursday episode, but you still have a couple days to get in there and leave a 5-star review. I don't care what you say. You can say Kentucky sucks. Just leave a 5-star review, and that works for me. And then we can give you free gear, and it helps us. Works for everybody. But thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the first weekend of the madness, and hopefully we can close it out in a profitable way. Subscribe, unsubscribe, subscribe. You know the drill. Tell a friend, tell an enemy. Make sure you download the award-winning Action Over Gap. Shout out to our sponsor and friends at BetMGM. Time for us to go get to work on the Sweet 16. We'll catch y'all later in the week. Cheers.